In the world's greatest country, in its most pivotal state, lies Pennsylvania's Lehigh Valley, an economic hub that's as vibrant as it is ideologically eclectic. Its just over 700,000 residents will play a critical role in deciding the course of American leadership and thereby the world. Who are the thinkers, workers, and leaders that will decide our collective fate? Join me, Moshe Kurtz, as I walk through the valley and find out. Thank you, my friends, for joining me today as I walk through the valley with Northampton County Executive Tara Zrinski. It is wonderful to have you on the show.
Sure is. Thank you so much.
Now, we just had the pleasure, the episode right before yours was with Lehigh County Executive Josh Siegel. Now, we were talking about Call of Duty versus Battlefield and all sorts of video games. I'm not sure if we're going down that route today, but we have some very interesting topics to get into. When we met recently at a community event, we were talking about the intersection of politics and religion. And while some people don't like to go down that route and like to put them in separate spheres, you seem very eager to jump right into it. So that's just a little bit of a preview of what we'll be talking about later in the episode. But before we get to all the spicy kind of stuff, your 100th day in office just passed. And I'm curious if you could let our listeners know, what have you been up to? What are some of the interesting and important work that your administration has been doing for Northampton County?
Well, I think beyond the endless meetings that seem to take place and events, in between there, we're really trying to get some work done. We announced our collaboration with Northampton Community College and the Lehigh Valley Justice Institute on a reentry program. It was one of the new hires that I had in my cabinet, Jennifer Seafried, who is our reentry specialist. We are hoping that this will reduce recidivism and give people a second chance as they move into the Lehigh Valley post-release.
I think that's really important. And actually, we have an upcoming episode with Jess Danke from Muhlenberg, who works on the Inside Out program. We're going to be hearing more about how they bring students from the college into the jail and actually have, I think, more or less half the class Muhlenberg students, half of them inmates, and teach a course together. So it's good to hear about the kind of work you're doing and how this could all go together.
Yeah, I think that definitely could go together. The other thing that we're really focusing on is Graysdale and a Graysdale plan to potentially expand our services in the same way that Cedarbrook has not only the nursing care facility, but the supportive living.
So this is a county-run nursing facility.
Yes.
Which they've attempted to close over the years, if I'm not mistaken.
Not close, but there was some discussion about selling it. And I don't want it to be sold because the people that we assist are the people have nowhere else to go. There's no private equity or private nursing care facility that's going to allow the people that we take in. And so I do believe that this is a very important service that the county holds and that we maintain it.
Absolutely.
You can see up there, this one specific guy calls every month just to see if he can buy Graysdale.
So you're pointing, for our listeners, they're listening on the audio, but you're pointing to, I see, a contact information that's on the wall of your office. And there's a guy who just calls you repeatedly nonstop trying to purchase it and privatize it.
Right. And I'm not going to get worn down.
You know what? That sounds like a continuation, if I'm not mistaken, of your predecessor, Lamont McClure. We recently did our PA7 candidate interviews, and he talked about Graysdale and how this has been an ongoing challenge, that there are people who want to privatize it, but then that might mean those who are economically disadvantaged would not be able to be there.
Exactly. And having seen what privatization does to healthcare, just in dismantling it for its parts, basically. The private equity firms come in. We saw it happen with Easton Hospital. It became something else, and now St. Luke's finally bought it, and it is a functional community hospital. But for a time, the private equity group just comes in and cuts and cuts and cuts and cuts until there's nothing left, and then they take all the profit out of it. I don't think healthcare in itself should be something that's traded or a commodity, so to speak, that people use to mine for wealth.
Right, because their allegiance is to a limited group of people who are their shareholders. Their allegiance isn't necessarily, and actually is not, to the citizenry of the county.
Right.
So that's important. That's why I think many people appreciate that it's staying under county jurisdiction. Now, I'm curious, we actually, I was going to bring this up later, but it really flows from this question. So you have a new administration. It's been only 100 days in office. God willing, you still got a lot of work ahead of you to do. But you also have Lamont McClure, who was your predecessor for 2 terms prior. So I'm curious, do you see your current administration as kind of continuing in the same footsteps as your predecessor? Are you trying anything new that you're looking to do in your office?
I think the 2 things that I just mentioned are quite new.
The prison reform.
The prison reform, the reentry program, Graysdale expansion, those things are what I like to call my visions for the future. And I think that I have already differentiated myself from Lamont McClure. We've hired 91 individuals and filled vacancies in every department. We're looking towards gifting people days off in areas where we can't actually pay them because we don't have the salaries that are very competitive. So this year we revised our calendar to provide 5 extra days off, which is very nice.
It sounds a little, I'm not saying it's the same, but maybe in the same spirit. In our previous episode with Executive Siegel, they're working on passing legislation for paid family leave for county employees. So is it kind of like the same kind of philosophy that's behind this?
Probably. I think Josh and I share a progressive philosophy. I mean, we have a child daycare on premise.
Really?
Yeah, at Graysdale. So that was made for the Graysdale employees. There's currently about 25 individuals who take advantage of that. But I'm looking at ways to expand that into the public and potentially make that a program that could be part of a larger intergenerational vision and campus that is on Graysdale.
I mean, that sounds amazing. I mean, now I'm thinking of signing up. We got young kids. Maybe I should sign up to work at Graysdale. But to do this on a broader level, you probably need support, at least from the state, if not the federal government, or can this all be done county-wise?
You need some blessing from the state. And we have been working with the Department of Health and Human Services at the state level to understand the hoops that we have to go through in trying to expand and maintain what we have at Graysdale, really.
Now, I don't want to harbor on this point for too long because I think when you were interviewed by my friend Tony Iannelli, you already addressed this, but I know that I think people have called you, and I think you identify as such, as a climate justice organizer. Is that a fair description?
It's kind of fair, yeah.
And so I know that one of the hot topics in the Lehigh Valley is the emergence or potential emergence of data centers. So as someone who cares deeply about the climate, how do you approach these potential data centers?
It's really difficult because philosophically, I have a lot of issues with data centers in general because they seem to be serving a purpose that is for a technocracy that most people haven't agreed to. We already have broadband issues in Northampton County where not everybody has access to Wi-Fi or good internet access. There is a digital divide, and there's this sort of effort to build these data centers to fulfill the needs of AI and technology and increased technological dependence. I think the more that we depend on technology in our everyday lives, the more expensive it's going to be. I can remember a time when you had a phone that was hooked to the wall, and you
landline, yes.
Yeah, landline.
I remember that as well.
Yeah, and you couldn't go into another room with the phone unless the cord was that long.
Right.
And
then you wind up tripping over it, and
exactly.
There's some household injuries.
Yeah, someone gets clotheslined or something like that, and then but I can remember that time and how much more expensive a cell phone, a data plan, and even storage space for all your data. Like, we used to keep our photos in a shoebox, and now my photos are in a cloud, and I have to pay for that data.
Well, this is a bigger philosophical issue that I think you're getting to, which is we live in a subscriber economy right now. I mean, this, I forgot who brought this up. It was, I'm a New York Times podcast junkie as well. So I remember one of them brought up this issue that I think it was on Ross Douthat's show potentially, that so many of us are forced to still be renters today. And by being a renter, that means I don't feel like this is my land. This is my community. I don't really own anything. And when I don't own anything, it means I don't feel beholden to anything either. Like, I don't have social responsibility. And that's a concern. I mean, I'm looking at my Google Drive right now, and I just see I'm 91% full on my Google account. And now I'm like, am I gonna have to pay in perpetuity now? Do I open up a new Google account so I can save more files on there? I'm very concerned about the style. I mean, I'm thinking about, in video games. This is what I talked with Josh about. It used to be you just bought a CD or a disc and then you had the full game. Now, Electric Arts and others, what they require is you buy the base game, but then if you want this thing and that thing that's called DLC, you have to pay more money to get the rest of the game. And then you wind up subscribing, and then you never fully own anything.
I don't even understand that. I know my son plays video games, and he's always asking for money for upgrades or skins or things that you could buy internally. I'm like, none of that stuff is
not
real.
Tangible. Yeah,
none of that stuff is real. But this is the thing, is that I think that reality is going to shift. Like, what I think of real is like in the material world. What other people think of real that are growing up, I think, is whatever elicits emotion. And so if you could play a video game and have an experience and have an emotional response to it, that's as real as any experience you have in the material world.
Well, I guess to a certain degree we do that in the material world. I mean, think about going on a vacation or to an amusement park. So going on the roller coaster. I mean, I don't enjoy roller coasters anymore, but once upon a time before I got really nauseous, I did. So that's an experience as well, but I guess that's more of
interacting with real people in a tangible world. Here, you're interacting with avatars and a geography that's created in a world that is not here.
Well, I guess we have to be grateful that the metaverse more or less flopped at this point.
Thank God.
But it doesn't mean someone else isn't going to try to do it. So
metaverse. But to your point about climate reality, the idea of data centers not only bothers me philosophically, but then also environmentally, because I think there's a lot of things that we don't yet understand about data center technology. We talk about making them environmentally sound with closed loop water systems or generating power on site. But if you're generating power on site and you're just using a gas line, then literally, you're still using a fossil fuel. You cannot have enough solar energy to power a data center because you'd need megawatts, like 300 megawatts of storage space. And that in itself would take up like another football field in addition to all the land that's being used. The other thing that has come up with data centers is that they're actually warming the temperature around them and not only accumulating this heat, but changing the climate where they exist. Yeah, there's new studies on that. And that's pretty bothersome.
I mean, I wouldn't want that in my backyard.
I don't know if
But I
anybody
understand
wants any of these things in their backyard. The question is,
that's what NIMBYism
you don't
is.
own the land. If you don't own the land, you can't necessarily control what is being put on there. Now, the thing that I can control about this is I don't have to give any data center alerta. I don't have to make it financially sound for them to do. But I don't think I get much of a consent, or no one's asking me, can we put a data center in your county?
Right.
They're just kind of doing it.
They're just going to steamroll it.
I'm pretty sure that's how this is going to go.
I mean, this is the environmental aspect. I mean, because we live in a valley already, and I'm no scientist or anything, but I understand that means you don't get all the nice wind coming through all the time, depending where you are. So the heat kind of traps in here. Mm-hmm. So to have those pressure cookers of data centers generating more heat, that doesn't sound so desirable.
Right. And I'm not quite sure about data center technology and the future of data center technology. I know that when my dad was a kid, you walk into a room and the whole entire room was a computer. Mm-hmm. That was the computer. Now you have a computer that'll fit in the size of your hand.
Yes.
Will that happen with data center technology? Will you be able to have those kinds of servers kind of shrunk down so that they don't take up football fields? So maybe they only take up the space of, like a garden shed.
I won't pretend to understand this, but apparently with quantum computing, if they're able to scale that, who knows?
Yeah.
Okay, this is really good. And, you just briefly referenced your childhood, and I actually wanted to ask you about that. I always like to ask my guests, so here we go. Did 10-year-old Tara always imagine or always want to become Northampton County executive, or now no child knows what a county executive is, or most children do it, I should say.
Yeah.
But do you always want to go into public service?
I was a Girl Scout, and I was pretty active in my church, and I think public service has always been something that I have felt drawn to. In what capacity that was going to be, I don't know. But when I was 10 years old, I don't think it was on my radar. I'm pretty sure I wanted to be Indiana Jones and be an archaeologist.
That's pretty cool, actually. Yeah. I don't hear a lot of archaeologists.
I don't know of many people who haven't watched Indiana Jones and gone through those adventure series and thought, I would love that kind of adventure. I would love being an archaeologist.
Which movie in the trilogy is your favorite?
I liked Indiana Jones and the Ark of the Covenant.
Oh, of course, and that brings us to our next topic. That was a good segue there, Executive Zrinski. So speaking Ark of the Covenant and about religion, so let's get right to it. So I did notice that at your swearing-in ceremony, you had the Floral Notes chorals sing "This Little Light of Mine," which is a religious song, and I think was actually used for the civil rights movement. They adopted that, if I'm not mistaken.
Sure.
So I'm curious, what was your thinking behind that particular song?
Well, that is a song from my UU experience. Unitarian Universalist experience. That was something that was sung a lot, and I was the director of Lifespan Faith Development, so that is something we sang with children a lot. Mm-hmm. To me, that song embodies the kind of empowerment that I would like to feel in my administration, that I will let my light shine, that there are individuals who have told me to dim my light, to leave room for other people to stay small, to be quiet. And I just wanted to let everybody know that is not going to be what this administration is about. I am going to let my little light shine as much as I possibly can, because I think that is what the world needs. Not just from me, but like everybody. I think about like how we would be as a humanity if we understood the path of everybody else and how collectively we could change and make this world more equitable, more inclusive, more fair. if we just had that light.
So it's not just about your own light shining, but it's enabling and empowering others to do that. That's a great philosophy. So you mentioned your Universalist Unitarian background. So you are educated at the Moravian University, is that correct?
Yes, at Moravian Seminary.
At the seminary.
Yes.
So you have formal religious education. And so what I found really fascinating was when we crossed paths, this is what I referenced at the beginning of the episode, and I made my usual, religion in one realm, politics in the other realm. That's what we're supposed to be saying always. I was very captivated and intrigued by your adamance that they actually go hand in hand with each other. So I would love to understand, how does your experience at the Moravian Seminary and as a religious person in general inform your understanding as a county executive and politics and policy?
Well, I think religion was the first politics. It was, how do you behave and what are the consequences of those behaviors? When you look, I mean, whether or not you think you must be obedient to God and God enacts his will, or whether you believe in salvation, or whether you believe in karma and reincarnation, or anything like that, there's a consequence to actions, and there's an order that people go into to make decisions about what is right and what is wrong and how we should behave with each other in society. Now, either you take that up with a committee or you pray to God, or you meditate and go internal with trying to figure it out. But I think it's sort of like a template for moral justice, at least, and if not, some sort of behavioral modification plan, because if you're going to put a tree in the middle of a garden and say, don't eat it or else,
right?
that is used in modern behavioral modification. That's sort of like incentivizing.
Absolutely. And then we get to the book of Exodus. We have lots of civil laws that come up there, as well as other books as well. And, this is something that has come up actually, at our time of recording. We are still I can see you're smiling there. We're processing the fallout of the, what shall we say, disagreement between the president and the Pope. And there seems to almost be, I'm not sure how you would frame it, like a conflict between politics and religion, or whether religion is encroaching on politics, or maybe encroaching is the wrong word. Maybe they do go hand in hand together. So I'm curious, you're looking at this going on. I imagine as a Democrat, you're probably not the biggest fan of the current administration, but how are you processing this?
Well, I want to be clear that I do believe in the separation of church and state. I don't believe that any one religious philosophy should become the theocratic column or pillars upon which we decide how to do things.
I didn't have that impression, don't worry.
I do think, but I do think that it informs your personal understanding of how you will behave with other people, or your expectations about how people should behave. Now, we have a government that is quite theocratic. They seem to call on God. He even has his own Bible, which also has the Constitution in it. So I don't think that he views anything as separation. He just had a picture of himself, AI generated, as a healer, which looked a lot like Jesus Christ, in the robes. And I think that everybody should be somewhat offended by that. Not only is it some sort of blasphemy, but it is the ultimate arrogance that he, of all people, can heal the world when all he has done is start wars, elicit wars, divide individuals, ruin families, lock people up, kick them out of the country. I mean, if you had a What Would Jesus Do seminar, Trump would fail. That is a massive failure. So the fact that that Pope is calling him out in such a way, it's it's sort of like religion coming back and smacking him in the face, you know, because I think that he believes that he has the moral high ground. Trump has the moral high ground because of all the religious individuals that have joined him in this conservative movement. And I think that that movement in itself is a bastardization of Christianity. It's not anywhere written that people should treat other people in the way or pursue prosperity and wealth at all costs. There's nothing in the Bible about that. Jesus turned the tables over. Like, he led an itinerant life. He made bread and wine for everybody to drink. He included the lepers and the people on the fringes of society. Anybody who was alienated or marginalized, he saw to heal. So the idea of physical healing, social healing, economic healing are all part of that philosophy. And I don't understand what school all these other people went to, but that's not what I learned when I read the Bible.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting for me because, you know, I'm Jewish, so I'm kind of like sitting a little bit on the outside here, but definitely when I saw that AI image that you referenced, it definitely raised my eyebrow, to put it mildly. I had a similar kind of reaction as well. Though one of the things, you know, I'll speak for myself, that I notice in society is that this is what I find convenient. I'll speak just internally in Jewish discourse, but it definitely happens in other religious circles as well. I always find it convenient, like for some people, if somehow magically God, the Bible, the commandments in there, the principles, the values in there, somehow magically align with 99.9% of either the Republican Party agenda or the Democrat Party agenda, I start wondering how much it is God informing how we are creating policy versus how much of policy and politics that we might already espouse is informing our reading of the Bible.
Is the cart before the horse, or it's one of those things. I guess it depends on what you believe. Anybody who's making policy, what their relationship with God is, because I don't believe that God informs their policy. I don't believe that their reading of the Bible is informed by God at all, because if it was, the reading would be quite different.
Oh, well, now that you put me in this place, I'm going to have to get the conservative MAGA response on a follow-up episode.
That's okay.
Yeah, this will be fun.
I'll debate theology with them all day.
Hey, it's going to be fun.
It's a fun discussion because, you know what, you really learn who a person is by what they believe.
Yeah.
And how they believe. Do you go to church on Sunday and feel like you're a good person because you went to church or to synagogue or to wherever you go worship? Or do you actually read the text and understand it and integrate it into who you are?
Right.
There's a real difference there.
Yeah, and you know, something that I admire, I mean, going back to the Pope, and I haven't read so much about this current one, but it's been kind of consistent in Catholic theology, is that while they are more conservative on the social issues, which seems, you know, at least my reading of the Bible seems to be relatively in line with that, they tend to actually be more what we would call liberal or progressive on the economic issues, which I think there's a great argument to be made because we have all sorts of different forms of charity that are mandated by the Bible. The idea of leaving off the corner of your field, the idea of tithing, there's all sorts of different kinds of charity that need to be given. So to me, that's actually a more nuanced approach because I could say, well, I think, you know, the right got a few policies right over here. The left got a few policies right, but the fact that they're not fully aligning with one side or the other, that kind of tells me that they're going issue by issue as opposed to, you know, playing on one team versus the other team.
I don't know. I think they got them all wrong.
Yeah.
I don't think the idea of charity is to make a charitable organization and exploit donations or whatever it is in order to do good. I think we could do good things if we came together as a community, recognized what things need to get done, and did them charitably or altruistically. Altruism is something quite different than charity.
Interesting.
The charity that is formed now, a lot of times, I feel like it's ego-driven. But altruism has no ego. You do it because it's right.
Can we just define the term? So what's the difference between charity versus altruism?
Oh, altruism doesn't entail any sort of ego. You don't have any emotional, physical, or material
It's
benefits.
not about putting my name on a building.
No, definitely not. Or your name on an organization. Or, telling people that you raise this much money. This is one of the hard parts for me in politics, is that for people to know what it is that you do, you have to talk about yourself. And that's actually really difficult because I forget about a lot of things that I do because I'm always going on to the next thing.
Yeah, you have a lot of stuff to get done, and even this, I reached out to you to give you the platform. So this wasn't your ego requesting it. So I'll let the listeners know about that. But just like one last thing about the charity, and then we'll go to our final questions. Okay. Is that we actually, as a rabbi of a synagogue, this is a question that I think about all the time, which is, on the one hand, we should be doing things because it's the right thing. On the other hand, we have to kind of meet people, as we say in Hebrew, basher husham, where they are. And some people, if we give them a chance to put their name on something, it makes them feel good, but they're doing the right thing in the end. Maybe it's not the ideal, but we're getting something done right. And there was a medieval theologian called the Rashba. So he said that, what? If I publicize that I did a good deed, it could create a positive peer pressure in which other people say, oh, well, if they donated to this good cause, maybe I should also consider it. So it's a complicated issue, but I'm with you fundamentally. Sure. Altruism would be the ideal.
Sure, but the people who donate because they can.
Yeah.
The people who donate even when they can't.
Right.
Are the people that sometimes need the most help.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And that's, it's troubling to me that people in our society, that we need so many charities to begin with.
Yeah, and this is my challenge. We're hopefully going to be featuring some of the nonprofit charitable organizations on the podcast soon. And something that I've just been overwhelmed with is, every time I meet with some of them, they're doing such amazing work. We're hopefully going to have the Kindness Project, the ARC of Lehigh, Northampton counties on the podcast soon. And they're all doing such important work. But what I'm so overwhelmed with is I can't keep track of how many different organizations are out there. And oh my gosh, there's like so many needs and so many holes we need to plug. How do we do it?
Well, sometimes I think that there needs to be more coalition building amongst organizations. There's a lot of repeats of people duplicating processes and duplicating services. And who is it that they're serving? I think it's important to recognize, how to build community isn't just siloing off into little pockets of, see, we're doing good things. It's, how are we doing these good things, and who are we doing them with, and who are we doing them?
We have to optimize for efficiency. Right.
Yeah.
So are we bringing in the Doge to Northampton?
No, I like efficiency, but I'm not doging anything.
Oh, okay. Very good. So final question is, so I like to ask everyone who's in a political office. We have the 250th anniversary of the United States of America coming up just in a few months. Executive Zrinski, what does that mean to you?
I think it's really important to celebrate your heritage. I think to a lot of people, America is supposed to be the land of opportunity and the place where you can get to the American dream, however you define that. I remember when my grandmother would tell me about how she came to this country in 1929. Not a great year to be coming to the United States at all. And she was not even 20 years old. She came here by herself. She ended up working in a tobacco factory and then in a clothing factory. And to her, she thought America was paved with golden streets. And to find out that the reality was probably more like Upton Sinclair's book, The Jungle, is very difficult. I don't think things have changed that much. I think there is a perception that America is and always has been this shiny object and destination. But the truth is, it's shiny for some people and very rugged for others. The path is not always easy and is not easily made for everybody.
Right.
And I think that 250 gives us a chance to have an honest look at our past and where we could potentially go in the future. What are the things that we want to change? What are the things that we think this country was built on that we want to keep and that we want to grow? And, you know, we can't doge our history, and we shouldn't doge our history. We should reconcile our present and future with the history and move towards the future that we want.
Very well said. Executive Tara Zrinski, thank you for your time, and I appreciate you joining me as I walk through the valley. Thank you for joining me as I walk through the valley. If you enjoyed this episode, please take a moment to rate and subscribe to our show. If you have questions or would like to book a live recording or have a speaking request, please email rabbi@sonsofisrael.net. This is Moshe Kurtz. I look forward to having you join me next time as I walk through the valley.